What's up, guys? This is Daniel from Arms Family Homestead, and it's another windy, sunny, beautiful day here in southern Oklahoma. And I'm going to be working on a project, starting on a project. I can't finish it today, so I'm actually shooting this video on a Sunday afternoon. Got out of church and decided, we needed to get some stuff done around here today. So we're going to be working on putting in another water line for my garden, because this garden spigot is the only water I have for my garden out here. And you can see my high tunnel's a long ways away. I don't actually have water in the high tunnel. And I know it sounds kind of random, and you wonder why in the world this water hydrant's right here in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's because my garden used to cover this whole bottom area, basically all the way over to where that trampoline is now, to the fence, and then all the way to the front of the greenhouse. Obviously, we don't grow near as big of a garden as we used to. I used to sell vegetables and do all kinds of, I tried to do farmers markets and like a CSA type thing for a while, but we decided not to do that. But we still do grow a garden and have the high tunnel, and it needs water in there. But all I've done for, I guess this is going on the 5th year of having this high tunnel, is run a water hose over there. So today we're going to be using a trencher. And this is one of those projects that I've just kind of put off forever and just never actually did it. But I needed to use this trencher. I went and got it from GP Rents in Davis. I needed this for all the wires to go under my driveway for my for automatic gate openers and stuff. We had to run a wire under the driveway and one down the drive. So we're gonna do this. Since we got the machine here, I was like, might as well go ahead and put in a water line. And this is a Ditch Witch C24X walk behind trencher. Guys, these things are so incredibly simple to operate, and you can rent one just about anywhere, a walk behind Ditch Witch trencher. But like I said, this one came from GP Rents here in Davis, Oklahoma. But a lot of people are intimidated by these things, and they're just so easy to operate. They really are. They make them pretty well foolproof. Once you get it started up and going, it's got 2 controls, so it is on tracks, as you see. So the right, if you pull back, the right track goes backwards. Push forward, the right track goes forward. So if you want to turn real sharp, or if you want to go straight ahead, you push them both forward, backwards, pull them both in reverse. This control here controls your actual chain down there for your digging. So you can run it, when you're actually trenching, you want to hold it here in place, and you can run it the other way if you get stuck or get it in a bind. And then you got one lever here to raise and lower the front blade. So basically all I'm going to do, I'm not going to take down my garden fence or anything. I'm just going to kind of follow the lay of the garden I have now. So my water comes into the greenhouse about right there in the ground. So we're just going to dig a trench, come out and go around my garden fence and go straight back. So as I said, I do feel like a lot of people are intimidated by trying to take on a job like this yourself. There's no reason to hire a plumber to come out and do, a 100-foot water line for you. But I will say this, there's some things you need to do first before you ever stick one of these trenchers in the ground. It's very important that you know where all of your buried utility lines are. So I know for a fact my water line comes down from the house to that spigot, and my buried electrical line runs up close to the house up there, and it's a full 3 feet deep. I know where that water line is. We're going to come down here and tie into the existing line. I'll probably leave that spigot there. But anyways, if you don't know where all of your buried utilities are, it's a great idea just to get on your cell phone and do the, star 811. Here in Oklahoma they call it Call Okie, but it's 811 before you dig on your cell phone, I believe. But you can call your local utility companies. They'll come out and mark all that stuff so that you don't run that trencher into your water main line or an electrical line or anything buried underground that you may not realize where it is. Very, very important to check that stuff ahead of time. And it's really not that difficult. The hardest part about running one of these trenchers is actually trying to keep it in a straight line. But I'm going to be burying 3/4 inch PVC pipe, so it's pretty flexible. So if it's not a straight line, not a big deal. Even like this curve here, I'm not going to put a 90 in there. I'll just make that a sweeping curve, and it'll work out just fine. So main thing, be careful, know where your buried utilities are, and don't hit your existing lines, because that could be a disaster. I would say if you take the camera out of the mix, I could have probably had that whole job completed in about 10 minutes. Now, obviously this was very soft ground, and hey, you're fixing to get a quick look at my crooked line. So I didn't dig all the way to where my cutoff valve is. I'll have to dig that. I'll dig this up by hand, and then I'll trench a little bit closer, but I need to dig this up first and see where my water line is, because we don't want to cut that. And there was one minor change. I told you guys I was going to make a big sweeping curve instead of putting a 90-degree elbow in this pipe, but there just wasn't enough distance here to make enough curve, so we'll just go straight down and straight across, and that'll make it easy for me to remember where this water line is, so that we don't ever hit it if we dig some holes for a garden fence or something later on. Now, as far as depth goes, that's going to all depend on where you live and how cold it gets, how deep your frost line is. Here, we really rarely don't have much of a buried frost line. I mean, you could put a water line 4 inches deep, and 99.9% of the time, it's probably not ever going to freeze here. But this year, one that was buried 4 inches would have definitely froze. So we're going to put it about 12 inches or so, and that kind of keeps it out of the way of things like ground rods. Probably, hopefully won't hit it with a ground rod from my electric fence or anything, but 12 inches is well below any frost line we would ever have to worry about here. So I'm going to clean this thing up, get it loaded on the trailer, and first thing tomorrow morning I'll run this back over and drop it off at GP Rents. So I'm telling you guys, if you tried to dig that ditch by hand, you would probably be out here for days. That machine right there did it in about 10 minutes. So it's that, digging the ditch is literally the fastest part of this job. Coming back in, digging both ends where we're going to tie into, and actually gluing all the pipe and installing it's going to take longer than digging the ditch. So I'm telling you what, having the right tool for the job will make your life a lot more simple, and that right there was the right tool for the job. So I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up, and then probably bring you guys back tomorrow after I go drop this off. I need to get some PVC water line, and we'll get everything installed and hooked up, and we'll have water in the high tunnel. Well, things change quickly. It's the next morning, and we now have about a 100% chance of rain in the next, I don't know, couple hours. So I got the trencher all loaded up. We're gonna go take it and drop it off at GP Rents. But the clouds are gonna break free and rain, and I don't want it to rain on my open ditch. So I'm gonna hurry up, try to hustle around and get some PVC pipe in the ground before this rain starts, because if I wait till after, my ditch will be completely filled in. I see a future project right there. There's what I need to come get. Yep. That looks like a future project to clean up all the brush and limbs and trees and stuff around the place. Maybe clean up my driveway. I love coming here. You just never know what you might find that you need. It's an interesting way of transporting pipe, huh? But when I had a 14-foot trailer hooked on and 20-foot long 3/4 inch schedule 40 pipe, that's the best way I could transport it home. But it worked. So I just got home from the lumber yard, got all the plumbing supplies. Like I said, we're going to be using 3/4 inch schedule 40 PVC pipe for our water line, and I've just barely beat the rain. It's starting to rain on me just a little bit, so I'm going to hustle, get all this pipe down there, glue it together, and get it in that ditch, because if it rains an inch, I'll be scooping mud out of that ditch for an hour. So I'm gonna unload this and at least get it thrown in the ditch and get as much as we can done before this big rain hits. PVC is really easy to work with. The first step when you're gluing these together, obviously, as you can see, most of you probably know, but on PVC pipe, usually you've got a bell end and a normal size end, and it just slides right in. And it's a two-part process. You want to use a good primer, let the primer dry for a few seconds, and then use a good PVC cement. A lot of people think the primer, all it does is just clean the pipe, but it actually, I'm not a plumber, so don't quote me, but I've always been told it actually somewhat melts the compounds of that PVC so that they bond together. So we're going to do the inside of the bell and the outside of the small end, and we'll let that dry for just a few seconds. It dries pretty quick, but you want to make sure it's good and clean before you put that cement on there. Okay, just slide the small end into the bell, get it in there all the way till it bottoms out, give it a little twist, and just hold it for a few seconds. This stuff dries extremely fast. It'll be dry, well, not completely dry, but it'll set up pretty hard within a few seconds. So we got everything glued together from where we're going to tie into the existing water line in the ground. I pushed the pipe that direction a couple extra feet just so we don't short ourselves. But as you can see, we're just a little bit short from what we need to make our turn. And we do have a bell end here, but we're about 3 feet short. So I'm going to take a piece and cut off of one of my other sticks. We'll put a 90-degree elbow on there. It'll glue in just like the pipe does on the bell. And I use, this is the easiest thing in the world, is a pair of PVC cutters. These things are amazing. 50 times faster than a hacksaw or something. It makes a perfect cut every time. So we'll cut a piece of PVC. We'll cut a little piece of PVC and glue it in here, put our 90-degree elbow, and head towards the greenhouse. Bella, you're a pretty good plumber's assistant. I guess technically you'd be a plumber's apprentice, right? Huh? So as you can see, we got all the pipe glued together, got it down in the ditch. I'm not gonna cover it up just yet because I like to pressure test it and actually test my work before I cover it up. But like I said, the main thing was I wanted to get this pipe in the ground, because if we get an inch of rain and it washes all that soil back in there, then the whole trench was pointless. But I don't think I'm going to be able to actually tie the line into the existing water line today. Just from looking at the radar, we're fixing to get dumped on pretty heavily, and I hate to cut a water line and not be able to finish it and then not have water to the greenhouse right now. But it'll be a pretty simple process. I can shut the water off up at the house. I've got a valve where it comes out from the house, and I found my existing water line. Here's our new one that goes in. I've got a cutoff valve here that shuts off that. A lot of people wonder why I don't have a frost-free hydrant here. Well, it's because all I have to do is turn it off in the ground, leave the valve open up top, and then it never freezes. All right, plumber's apprentice, you're gonna have to back up just a little bit. So in order to tie this line into the existing water line, I'll just have to dig back a couple more feet. Bella, back up. I'll dig back this way a couple more feet so that we have some flex in that line, and then I'll cut it, install a T, and then glue this into the T, and we'll have water all the way to the high tunnel. And since I'm putting this in upstream from this cutoff valve, I'll dig out inside the high tunnel, dig an area in there, and then we'll put a box, a shut-off box in the ground, tie the existing buried water line that goes to my irrigation system in there into that water line, and put a shut-off valve out here. That way I can still use that when I need to, or I can shut it off independently and have water out here, and then we can water, you know, when it's winter time, because we try to grow inside the high tunnel most of the winter. And I've just had a water hose stretched across my yard for, you know, 5 years, so it's something we're always having to dodge with the lawnmower, and it sits out here, and animals, rats and squirrels chew holes in it, and the sun decays it and all that. So a water hose just laying on the ground only lasts you 2 years at tops probably, and this will be a lot better option. And I know it's kind of a confusing mess right here at the moment, but here's where my existing water hose comes in, and then that water hose is just for a hand waterer, and then comes over here and goes down, and that line connects. You can see where that one comes up, catches this raised bed. I've got one that comes up over there, catches that raised bed, and then the far 2 rows of raised beds do the same thing. So all I'll have to do is dig down and cut this and come over, tie into this line, put a cutoff valve in the ground, and then I'll put a spigot up so we can have, you know, a water hose. So getting close to done. Now I know this was like a total guerrilla warfare style of plumbing. I just want you guys to know I'm not a plumber and don't claim to be a plumber, but at least on a farm, it's just so much cheaper if you can do things yourself. If you got to hire, you know, all these different specialized people, plumbers and welders and electricians and all these different people to come in to do projects on a farm, the math quickly turns away from your favor, because plumbers and things like that are very expensive. This water line, you can go rent a trencher like I did from GP Rents. You could literally do a half-day rental, fairly inexpensive. I've got about $50 something probably in plumbing supplies, maybe $60 in plumbing supplies. And let's say it costs you $100 for a day rental of a trencher, $50 for the supplies. You're $150 into a project. Hiring a plumber would have probably been upwards of $500 or more. So I encourage everyone to learn how to do things yourself on a farm. Now, if you live in town, or depending on where you are, you may have to do things like pull permits and do all that stuff. And you may, if you live in a, you know, in a municipality or a city, they may have to have a licensed contractor do it, depending on your permits and stuff. But out here in the country, in the farm, we don't pull permits. You don't have to have a permit for any of this kind of stuff. And little jobs like that you put off for years really do make life easier. And when you live on a farm, trying to do as much as you can to make things as easy as possible pays off in the long run. So anyways, it's starting to rain on me. I'm obviously not going to get to finish my water line today, but we'll get to it another day. And it's just like everything else, we got a lot of projects going on a farm. It's everything's seasonal. You do what you can when you can, and we get a lot of projects done over time. Just, it's like they all say, the old saying, only one way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. The only way to run a farm is one little project at a time. So anyways, guys, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Y'all have a great day. And as always, we'll see you on the next video.